Okay, I'll say cancer. All around us we have things like cancer. We have cancer of all different sorts. Children get cancer. Why does God allow suffering? Here is the answer. The Bible tells us we live in a fallen creation. In the beginning, God created everything perfect. No disease, no cancer, no suffering, no death. As by the sin of one man, or death entered the world, death passed on all men, the Bible says, because all have sinned. So don't use suffering as an excuse to reject God, because it's a very real reason to accept Him, because the Bible tells us why we have suffering. We live in a fallen creation. It's very, very clear.
Okay, thank you. Let's just one final question from the floor for Brian and Kelly before we up some. Okay, there's a gentleman right at the back.
Kelly, I believe, questioned the existence of Jesus Christ as a man, and I've done a lot of research in this area and have discovered that indeed, not only did Jesus Christ exist, but there is evidence of the Last Supper, and that Jesus at the Last Supper, which was a Passover Seder, got up and said, "Thomas, you will doubt me. Peter, you will deny me. Judas, you will betray me. Waiter, separate checks."
Sorry, this gentleman here with the spectacles. A question for Brian and Kelly.
The question is something that we kind of overlook. We're using one thing that we have and we never question it. We're using applied logic. We're using these very abstract ideas. And the question, if God is the ultimate autonomous being, and there was an issue raised about, in different cultures, we tend to project God. We project God out of our existence. If God is the ultimate being, can't it just be said that you are simply projecting the self as God? Now, that's just another projection, as much as people in different cultures who project, or to use your very well-made point. And wouldn't that just make it a moot point? Or wouldn't just invalidate your point about God is just a projection of whatever we experience? Might that not better render the idea that God exists and we simply respond to Him?
Thank you, sir.
I think that was actually Martin's point about the projection in different cultures.
He raised a very good...
No, but he's asking you the point.
Yeah, at any rate, the difference between that and God is that I know I exist. Even if we lived in some kind of other universe, maybe if it's all inside of a dream of some other thing, in that setting, I exist to myself. This God that you want to attribute all of that to, there's no evidence for Him. If there were evidence for Him, if it was self-evident, then, I would believe it, but it's just not.
I'm sorry, I just need to touch on the question that was asked of us earlier. I feel like we were short on time. And I'm going to read directly from page 43 of Letter to a Christian Nation and Sam Harris, who quotes the United Nations Human Development Report. He says, Norway, Iceland, Australia, Canada, Sweden, Switzerland, Belgium, Japan, the Netherlands, Denmark, and the United Kingdom are among the least religious societies on earth, according to the report. They are also the healthiest, as indicated by life expectancy, adult literacy, per capita income, educational attainment, gender equality, homicide rate, and infant mortality. And then just another point in reference to the United States being one of the most religious societies on earth. We are uniquely beleaguered by high rates of homicide, abortion, teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted disease, and infant mortality. And there's a lot more there.
Okay, thank you. Okay. You can respond to that, but then we got to move on.
Yeah, I think that those quotes are interesting from Sam Harris, but that doesn't prove that God doesn't exist, because there are countries who don't believe in Him.
No, sure.